Hey, Reddit. I'm Amanda. I'm 32, single, and yeah, I've done pretty well for myself. I run my own graphic design business, live in a nice apartment in downtown Chicago, and can afford little luxuries that make life easier. I don't flaunt it, but I won't apologize for working my ass off to get where I am. Anyway, the drama started a few weeks ago when my older brother, Ethan, and his new wife, Jessica, invited themselves over to my place. I hadn't seen much of them since their wedding 6 months ago, which was a whole ordeal in itself, but we'll get to that later. They showed up all smiles and fake enthusiasm, Jessica with her designer purse, and Ethan acting like the big brother who suddenly remembered I existed. I should have known something was up. So, Amanda, how's the business going? Ethan asked, eyeing the sleek furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows of my apartment. Pretty good, I replied, not offer more than necessary. Experience had taught me that the less information I gave, the better. Jessica leaned forward, her smile just a little too tight. It must be nice, having all this to yourself. I nodded, sensing where this was headed. Yeah, I've worked hard for it. And you don't have any major expenses, right? Ethan added casually. No mortgage, no kids, just living the dream. I set down my coffee cup, my fingers tightening slightly around the handle. What's this about? They exchanged a quick glance, one of those silent conversations couples have when they're trying to figure out who should drop the bomb. Jessica took the lead. Well, Ethan and I have been talking, and we're hoping you could help us out financially, as a wedding gift. I blinked, caught off guard. The wedding was 6 months ago. Yeah, but we didn't want to ask then. Ethan cut in quickly. We know you were busy with work, and we didn't want to put pressure on you. But now that things have settled down, well, we thought you'd be in a better position to help. My stomach tightened. Help with what exactly? Jessica's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. A down payment on a house. I stared at them, waiting for the punchline that never came. You're asking me to buy you a house? Not the whole house, Ethan said, as if that made it better. Just a down payment. Around $200,000. Maybe $225,000 if we want something nicer. I nearly choked on my coffee. Are you serious? Jessica's smile slipped into something more strained. Come on, Amanda. You make more money than both of us combined. It's not like you can't afford it. That's not the point. I shot back. Why would I give you that much money? Because we're family, Ethan said, his voice taking on that patronizing tone he used when we were kids. And it's not like you're using all your money. You don't have kids to save for. You're not married. What are you going to do with all that cash anyway? I stood, my pulse pounding in my ears. I earned that money, every penny of it, and I'm not responsible for funding your life choices. Jessica's eyes narrowed. Wow, so much for being generous. Must be nice, sitting up here in your fancy apartment while the rest of us struggle. Struggle? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You both have full-time jobs. And maybe if you hadn't blown half your wedding budget on a 5-star venue and designer dresses, you'd have more saved up. Ethan's face flushed red. Don't bring that up. You didn't even contribute to the wedding, so you have no right to judge. And why would I shot back. You didn't ask me to help then, but now that you want a house, suddenly I'm your personal ATM? Jessica stood, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor as she crossed her arms. You're really selfish. Amanda, it wouldn't kill you to help out your only brother. My fists clenched at my sides. I've helped you plenty over the years. Remember college? Who sent you money when your car broke down? Who covered rent when you and your buddies blew your budget on beer and pizza? And did I ever ask for anything back? No. But this is too much. Ethan's jaw tightened, and I could see the anger simmering just beneath the surface. You know what? Fine. Keep your money. But don't come crying to us when you realize money can't buy happiness. Jessica scoffed. Yeah, have fun growing old alone in this fancy apartment. I stepped back, heart hammering in my chest. Get out, both of you. Amanda, now. Silence hung heavy in the air as they exchanged one last glance before storming out the door. The slam echoed through the apartment, leaving me standing there, shaking with adrenaline and disbelief. That night, I couldn't sleep. Their words replayed in my mind on an endless loop. Accusations of selfishness, loneliness, and entitlement. I kept asking myself if I'd overreacted. Was I really being selfish for refusing to help my brother? Maybe I could have offered something, just not the outrageous amount they demanded. But every time I started to waver, I remembered the entitled look in their eyes, the expectation that because I'd worked hard and saved smart, I somehow owed them a piece of my success. By morning, my resolve had hardened. I wasn't responsible for their choices. And if they couldn't respect that, maybe I was better off without them in my life. But something told me this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I wish I could say that kicking Ethan and Jessica out of my apartment ended the drama. But if that were true, I wouldn't be here sharing this story. For the next few days, I tried to shake off the confrontation. I buried myself in work, cranking out design projects late into the night, hoping that deadlines and client emails would drown out the echo of their accusations. But then the texts started. At first, they were from Ethan. Ethan, come on, Amanda. Don't be like this. Ethan, we're family. Families help each other. Ethan, it's not like we asked for a handout. We just need a boost. I ignored them, deleting each one without responding. But the more I ignored him, the angrier his messages became. Ethan, wow. I can't believe how selfish you've become. Ethan, all that money's turned you into a cold-hearted witch. Ethan, Mom and Dad would be ashamed of you. That last one hit harder than I wanted to admit. Our parents had passed away years ago. Dad from a heart attack when I was in college, and Mom from cancer not long after. I'd always tried to honor their memory, to live a life they'd be proud of. But I knew they wouldn't have supported Ethan's entitlement, no matter how much he tried to guilt-trip me. When I still didn't respond, Jessica joined the chorus. Jessica, you have no idea how hard it is trying to start a family. We just wanted a little help. Jessica, how can you be so heartless? Jessica, enjoy your lonely life in that empty apartment. The messages kept coming, each one a little more vicious than the last. I blocked their numbers, but somehow they found other ways to get to me. Emails, social media DMs, even comments on my business page. It was like they were determined to wear me down until I gave them what they wanted. Then came the phone call that nearly pushed me over the edge. It was late on a Thursday night, and I was halfway through editing a client's marketing brochure when my phone buzzed. A known number. I hesitated, then picked up, thinking it might be a client. Hello. Silence for a moment, then a familiar voice. Amanda. I stiffened. Ethan, how did you? Don't hang up, he cut me off. Look, I know we've been coming on strong, but we're desperate here. Jess and I found the perfect house. The kind of place where we could really start our family. But we can't get the loan without a bigger down payment. Please, just help us out. I swear we'll pay you back. I squeezed my eyes shut, gripping the phone so tightly my fingers ached. Ethan, I told you no. Why can't you accept that? Because you're my sister. His voice cracked, frustration and desperation bleeding through the line. We're supposed to look out for each other. I took a shaky breath, fighting to keep my voice steady. I've looked out for you more times than I can count. But I'm not your bank, Ethan. I'm not responsible for fixing your life every time things get tough. It's just money, Amanda. It's not like you can't spare it. That's not the point. I snapped, anger rising like a tide. You're acting like I owe you something just because I have more than you. But I worked my ass off for everything I have. I sacrificed sleep, weekends, and a social life to build my business from the ground up. I didn't do all that so you could guilt me into funding your lifestyle. Silence. When Ethan finally spoke, his voice was low, cold. You're going to regret this. The line went dead before I could respond. The next day, I woke up to chaos. It started with an email from one of my biggest clients, a law firm I'd worked with for years. The message was short and to the point. Subject: termination of services. Amanda, due to recent concerns regarding your business practices, We have decided to terminate our contract effective immediately. We appreciate the work you've done for us in the past and wish you the best in the future." My stomach dropped. What the hell? I scrambled to check my business's social media pages and website. My heart pounded as I read through a flood of negative comments and reviews, most of them anonymous, all of them accusing me of being unprofessional, greedy, and unethical. Some even accused me of mistreating clients and employees, claims that were complete lies. I scrolled through the comments in disbelief, my pulse hammering in my ears. Who would? And then I saw it. A comment from an account with a fake name, but the phrasing was unmistakable. Funny how someone who refuses to help their own family expects other people to trust them. Maybe if you weren't so selfish, your business wouldn't be falling apart. My blood ran cold. Ethan. I call him immediately. He picked up after the second ring, his voice infuriatingly calm. "Hey, sis, change your mind yet? Are you behind this?" I demanded. "The fake reviews, the emails, did you do this?" "Careful with those accusations," he replied, his tone dripping with mock innocence. "Wouldn't want to say something you can't prove. Why are you doing this?" My voice cracked, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. "Because you left me no choice," he snapped. "All you had to do was help us, and none of this would have happened. But you chose money over family. So now, I'm just showing everyone who you really are." I gripped the edge of my desk, struggling to catch my breath. "This is insane, Ethan. You're destroying my business, my livelihood, because I wouldn't give you a handout." "It's not a handout," he shot back. "It's what family does. Or at least, what they're supposed to do. But hey, maybe a little financial trouble will teach you some humility." Before I could respond, he hung up. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was war. Over the next few days, I scrambled to contain the damage. I responded to every negative review with professionalism, providing evidence that the accusations were false. I reached out to my remaining clients, assuring them that my business was still operating with the same integrity and quality they'd come to expect. But the damage had been done. I lost 3 more clients within the week. Some because they believed the lies, others because they didn't want to be associated with the drama. My income plummeted almost overnight. Every time I thought about confronting Ethan in person, I had to remind myself that sinking to his level wouldn't solve anything. But the anger burned in my chest, a constant ache that wouldn't go away. I'd spent years building my business from nothing, long nights, endless sacrifices, and now my own brother was tearing all down out of spite. Something had to give. I wasn't going to let him win. But if Ethan thought he could ruin my life without consequences, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my home office, staring at my laptop screen as negative reviews and hateful comments flooded my business page. Each notification felt like a punch to the gut. Ethan's words echoed in my head. "Maybe a little financial trouble will teach you some humility." But humility wasn't what I needed right now. I needed revenge. By sunrise, my exhaustion had turned into something sharper. Cold, focused determination. If Ethan thought I'd roll over and let him destroy everything I built, he clearly didn't know me as well as he thought. The first thing I did was document everything. Every fake review, every defamatory comment, every suspicious email. Screenshots, timestamps, IP addresses. I saved it all. I wasn't a lawyer, but I knew enough to understand that what Ethan had done wasn't just petty. It was illegal. Defamation, harassment, interference with my business. The list went on. Once I had my evidence neatly compiled into a folder labeled Ethan's Bullsh *T, I called my lawyer, Vanessa. She'd helped me set up my business years ago, and if anyone could help me navigate this mess, it was her. Defamation cases can be tricky, she warned after I explained the situation. But if you have solid evidence that your brother is behind this, we might have a case. And depending on the financial damage, you could sue for substantial compensation. That's exactly what I want, I said, gripping the phone tighter. Not just to clear my name. I want him to pay for what he's done. Vanessa promised to start the legal process immediately, but that was only step 1. I wasn't going to wait around for a courtroom battle that could drag on for months. No, I needed to take back control of my life now. Next, I tackled the public side of the damage. I posted a statement on my business website and social media accounts addressing the false reviews and accusations head-on to my valued clients and followers. Recently, false and defamatory statements have been made against me and my business. These claims are entirely untrue and are currently being addressed through legal channels. I appreciate the support of those who know my work and my character, and I am committed to continuing to provide the high-quality service you deserve. Amanda, the response was immediate. Loyal clients and colleagues flooded the comments with messages of support, sharing their positive experiences and vouching for my professionalism. Seeing those messages felt like a weight lifting off my chest. Proof that Ethan couldn't destroy my reputation so easily. But I wasn't done yet. While Vanessa handled the legal side, I decided to hit Ethan where it would hurt most, his own reputation. Using the skills that had built my business, I dug into his online presence, collecting every piece of public information I could find. Social media posts bragging about expensive vacations, flashy purchases, and lavish nights out, all while begging me for money. I didn't need to post anything myself. Instead, I anonymously sent the information to a few key people in Ethan's life, his boss, his in-laws, and even a few of his closest friends. I included screenshots of the harassment and fake reviews, framing it as concerning behavior that they should be aware of. It didn't take long for the fallout to begin. 2 days later, Ethan called me. I let it ring twice before answering, keeping my voice cool and collected. "Hello. You ruined my life." His voice cracked with rage. "What the hell did you do?" I leaned back in my chair, savoring the moment. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't play dumb," he shouted. My boss called me into his office, showed me screenshots of posts I made years ago. Now I'm under review because of unprofessional behavior. Jessica's parents won't stop calling, asking if I've been harassing you. "You!" "Stop right there." I cut him off, my voice sharp. "Everything I sent was public information. If you're embarrassed by what people found, maybe you should have thought twice before posting it. And as for the harassment, that's on you, Ethan. I just made sure the right people knew the truth." "You think you're so smart, don't you?" he hissed. "This isn't over." "Oh, but it is over." I interrupted, my calm tone masking the adrenaline coursing through me. "My lawyer is preparing a defamation lawsuit as we speak. I have evidence of every fake review, every harassing message, every lie you spread. So unless you want to face me in court, and trust me, you'll lose, I suggest you back off. Permanently." Silence. I could hear his ragged breathing on the other end of the line. "Stay out of my life, Ethan. You've done enough damage. And if you ever come near me or my business again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are." I hung up before he could respond, my hands shaking from the adrenaline rush. But this time, it wasn't fear coursing through me. It was victory. In the days that followed, things began to settle down. Ethan stopped contacting me. No more texts, no more phone calls. The fake reviews and comments vanished almost overnight. Whether it was fear of legal action or sheer embarrassment, I didn't care. All that mattered was that he was finally out of my life. My business slowly began to recover. Clients who left returned, apologizing for believing the lies. New clients reached out, impressed by how I'd handled the situation with grace and transparency. And through it all, I learned something important. Boundaries aren't just about saying no. They're about protecting the life you've built from people who think they're entitled to a piece of it. Ethan had crossed that line, and I'd made sure he wouldn't forget it. Just when I thought the drama was over, Jessica reached out. It was late one evening, and I was curled up on the couch with a glass of wine when my phone buzzed with a new message. "Jessica, I had no idea Ethan was going that far. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive us." I stared at the message, torn between disbelief and a flicker of empathy. Maybe she really hadn't known the full extent of what Ethan had done. Or maybe she was just covering her own tracks now that the fallout had hit her doorstep. In the end, I decided it didn't matter. I deleted the message without responding. Some doors are better left closed. A week passed after Ethan's meltdown on the phone. For the first time in what felt like months, My life began to feel normal again. No more fake reviews. No more harassing messages. No more midnight phone calls filled with guilt trips and accusations. The silence was blissful, but I wasn't naive enough to believe it was over. Not yet. I focused on rebuilding what Ethan had tried to destroy. I reached out to former clients, offering discounts and incentives to win back their business. I launched a new marketing campaign to restore my company's reputation, using the drama as fuel to prove I wasn't going anywhere. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. Positive reviews started rolling in, new contracts were signed, and my calendar filled up with projects again. Despite the progress, a lingering tension remained, like a storm cloud on the horizon, waiting to break. I told myself I was just being paranoid. Ethan had backed off. Jessica had apologized. It should have been over. But then I received a letter. It arrived in a plain white envelope with no return address. At first, I assumed it was another legal document related to the defamation lawsuit Vanessa had filed on my behalf. But as soon as I opened it, I realized this was something else entirely. The letter was handwritten in messy, uneven script. My stomach twisted into knots as I read the first line. "You think you won, but this isn't over." My hands trembled as I continued reading. "You had no right to ruin my life. I was your brother, your family, but you turned your back on me when I needed you most. Now, you're going to see what it feels like to lose everything." My pulse pounded in my ears as I scanned the rest of the letter, each word more venomous than the last. Threats of exposing personal information, hints that he knew things about my business, clients, contracts, vulnerabilities. The final line sent a chill down my spine. "Watch your back. I'm just getting started." I dropped the letter as if it had burned me, my mind racing. This wasn't just petty revenge anymore. This was something darker, more dangerous. I grabbed my phone and called Vanessa immediately. "Vanessa, I need your help. Now." By the next morning, Vanessa had filed for a restraining order against Ethan. She also contacted the police, who took the letter seriously, given the previous harassment. They opened an investigation, though I knew it would take time to get results. In the meantime, I wasn't taking any chances. I installed security cameras around my apartment and office, upgraded my digital security, and made sure every password I used was ironclad. I even gave my building security team a photo of Ethan, instructing them not to let him inside under any circumstances. But no amount of preparation could erase the knot of fear that settled in my chest every time I heard an unexpected noise or saw an unfamiliar car parked outside. I refused to let Ethan win. But part of me couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. I didn't have to wait long. 3 days later, I returned home from a client meeting to find my apartment door slightly ajar. My heart seized in my chest. I knew I'd locked it when I left. Swallowing the lump in my throat, I pushed the door open and stepped inside cautiously. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the distant hum of the refrigerator. Nothing seemed out of place at first glance. The furniture was undisturbed, my laptop still on the desk, my keys on the hook by the door. But then I saw it, a single photograph lying on the kitchen counter. It was a picture of me, taken from a distance as I walked to my car earlier that morning. I stumbled back, my pulse hammering in my ears. How had he gotten inside? How had he found me? I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. The police arrived within minutes, searching the apartment from top to bottom. There were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints besides my own. The officers assured me they'd increase patrols in the area, but their words did little to ease the fear that clung to me like a second skin. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the building, every gust of wind against the window set my heart racing. I kept my phone within reach, my eyes darting to the security monitor every few minutes. But the cameras showed nothing. The next morning, I called Vanessa again. "This has to stop," I told her, my voice shaking with a mixture of fear and fury. "I don't care what it takes. I need Ethan out of my life for good." Vanessa's voice was calm but firm. "I understand, Amanda, but we need solid evidence to press criminal charges. Without proof that he broke in or took that photo, our hands are tied." The restraining order helps, but it's not enough. I cut her off. He's not going to stop until he destroys everything. Or worse. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Vanessa's voice lowered. I can hire a private investigator. Someone who can gather the evidence we need to build a case against him. Do it, I said without hesitation. The investigator, a no-nonsense woman named Sarah, began digging into Ethan's life immediately. She tracked his movements, monitored his online activity, and collected every scrap of evidence she could find. Days passed with no sign of Ethan, but Sarah assured me she was closing in. Then, one evening, she called with the news I'd been waiting for. "We've got him," she said simply. Ethan had been caught trying to break into my office building late at night. Security cameras had captured everything, his face, his car, even the tools he brought to force his way inside. When the police arrived, he tried to run, but didn't get far before they tackled him to the ground. I sat down heavily, relief crashing over me like a tidal wave. What happens now? He's facing multiple charges: attempted burglary, violation of the restraining order, harassment. The list goes on, Sarah replied. With his criminal record, he won't be getting off with a slap on the wrist. The courtroom was colder than I expected, both physically and emotionally. I sat beside Vanessa, my hands clenched tightly in my lap, as Ethan stood before the judge, flanked by his lawyer. He looked thinner, more worn down than the last time I'd seen him. But there was no remorse in his eyes, only anger. The judge listed the charges, each one hitting like a nail in Ethan's coffin. When asked if he had anything to say, Ethan's gaze flicked toward me, his lips curling into a sneer. "This is your fault," he spat. "All of it. You ruined my life." I met his glare without flinching. "No, Ethan, you ruined your own life. I just refused to let you ruin mine." Ethan was sentenced to 3 years in prison, with a no-contact order that extended beyond his release. The defamation lawsuit was settled out of court, with Ethan ordered to pay restitution for the financial losses his actions had caused. It wouldn't undo the damage, but was enough to help rebuild what I'd lost. In the months that followed, the weight on my chest began to lift. My business thrived, stronger than ever. New clients poured in, drawn by the story of how I'd fought to protect what I'd built. My apartment, once tainted by fear, became a sanctuary again, a place of peace, not paranoia. And as for Ethan, I let him go, not just legally, but emotionally. I stopped wondering what could have been if he'd made different choices. I stopped replaying our arguments in my head, searching for ways I could have prevented the fallout. Some people are their own worst enemy, and sometimes the only way to save yourself is to walk away. Now, when I stand at my office window, looking out over the city that tried to break me, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Freedom.